Hello everyone and welcome to another Pokemon Pocket video. Today we're going to be doing another tournament review. This one once again is going to be on Ursuday's Pocket Weekly. I believe this is the fifth one now. Yep, as we can see, that makes sense. There is of course a 400 USD prize pool. A ton of work goes into these, so I'll link the the link for them and also to Ursu's Twitch and so on because it is streamed. And there's a ton of work being put into these. So if you are interested in playing in some really big tournaments at a weekend, make sure to check this one out. So we had a ton of players and we had a very interesting sort of step forward in the meta, I feel, this week, which has been the sort of dominance of Charizard Arcanine. Now, before we get into it, we just jumped to the the conclusion, I guess, where the winner was Charizard Arcanine. We will go through some of the other lists as well, and some like maybe sort of different and highlight lists that we can see. However, just starting with this list, it's probably the one most people are sort of interested in. When I tried playing this on ladder, just like normal queue on a stream, it did not go very well. However, if you are aiming to sort of beat up on exactly Mewtwo Pikachu, this deck can get the work done, because basically, on one hand, you have Charizard to delete Mewtwo, and then you have Arcanine to very quickly delete Pika. So pretty solid choices overall. One thing that's just a little bit surprising is that there isn't one Giovanni in here, and you might think, oh, why do you need Giovanni if you're doing 1,000,000 damage? Well, I like the option of giving Arcanine the ability tip for 130 if needed, as well as, sometimes you've got to Heat Blast, sometimes you've got to Slash, so just a personal preference of mine, but I think the drawback is normally you want to run one red card in tournament lists to make your opponent play around it, because these are open deck lists. So yeah, maybe not the best list to just jam on ladder, for me at least, because I don't really run into that much Mewtwo Pika, honestly. But against, tournament format, you expect a bit of a narrower field. Definitely very, very powerful indeed. And Charizard overall did quite well. Not only, of course, winning it, but we can see multiple Charizards. There's a Charizard Moltres here, Charizard again and again and again. All this in top 32. And then if you look at these, 7 and whatever scores, because 7 wins is a big deal. That's really, really good. We can still see more dotted around as well. So Charizard, definitely a deck that's been on the rise. I'm sure Ursu's quite happy with that as a Charizard player herself. So yeah, really cool to see the win there from Manu. But let's take a look at some of the other lists, because there are still other developments going on within the game. First off, second place was Mewtwo. Again, we see this sort of interesting list with the the Mewtwo tank, let's say, and then even one Jinx, which I'm a little bit of a fan of, honestly. I think Jinx can help you out in some awkward situations and act like maybe just one extra basic Pokemon to defend a route, so you don't have to necessarily start it. However, it of course does water down the basic Pokemon you are going to get from those Pokeballs. So it's a nice little option there, but other than that, again, the big difference once more is no Giovanni, and I feel like Mewtwo EX without Giovanni makes you feel safe against, a lot of other stuff. So a little bit surprised again, but I think X speed is very good. Maybe it can cut a Potion, or honestly, I think you could cut a Sabrina to an extent, but you do have to make room for that Jinx somewhere. So Mewtwo came second, and I think something you will notice is Mewtwo also came 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then also 10th. A lot of Mewtwo Gardevoir sort of made the cut, and I think it's because of the excessive almost targeting of Pika, because Pika's done so well over basically since the game came out and we started running tournaments. I think just the constant targeting of Pika has probably just made it more and more and more difficult to actually get through, because I think the general player thinks Mewtwo is more beatable than Pika, so they'll probably naturally try and tech more for Pika and then just say, oh, we'll just beat the Mewtwo's, it'll be okay. Again, another one to look at is Obamna here on the Articuno EX Greninja. Now, I am probably the original Articuno EX non-enjoyer, maybe. I don't really like the Pokemon. I don't think it's that good. I like normal Articuno, as some of you may know. But I tried this list actually today on stream, and it was fine. However, I was shocked it got through Pikachu in this tournament, And also, I still just feel like Articuno EX is so reliant on Misty that it just feels like a lot of your choices are taken away. And the deck is just, well, guess what? Hit Misty on Articuno or not. One thing I will mention, if we actually just go into matches, I did this today on stream. I was like, I'm surprised they got that far. Didn't Pikachu just sort of roll them over? And if we look, they faced one Pikachu. No, they did win. Don't get me wrong. They did win. However, one Pika in this field, I think they were very happy to see a massive influx of Charizard. My only issue is, personally, I think Starmie Greninja would feel better in this meta. Not to rhyme on purpose, but there we go. So yeah, only one Pika, and I'd be interested if they had a few more sprinkled in, if this deck would have got that far. But however, you know, huge congratulations. We will check out a Pika list before we start adventuring down into the slightly lower scores. I think this one's... Yeah, this is the next development of Pika, isn't it? Zapdos Pika, but instead of Zeb Strikers, which have been popular recently, everyone's jumping back to Electrode for just high spike damage, as well as, of course, the extremely flexible ability to retreat. I think a lot of the time, when you're against a Pikachu, sometimes you Sabrina and say, I hope they don't have X-Speed, because if they have to spend an energy to effectively retreat and put back in, you know, a Zapdos, a Pika, whatever, that's generally a win. But you are worried about 2x speeds, and then with this list, it's 2x speeds, and the Electrode can sit there and say, well, you can Sabrina if you want, unless you can like knock out on that turn. I'll just retreat into Pika or Zapdos anyway. So it's a lot of like Sabrina nullification, I would say, to an extent. But of course, good job for the Pika player there. So as we can see, of course, we had a ton of Mewtwo. Charizard, you know, did really well and is on the up. And then we had just a... there was a lot of Pika submitted, but we had, you know, some Pika making the cut. However, bear in mind, as we scroll down, these are all really good scores. This tournament is extremely difficult. There are a lot of good players, and these are all scores to be proud of. So let's take a look at some of the other lists that have stuck out here. So we, of course, have seen some Starmie Articuno, some Starmie Greninja. As I said, I think I would personally lean towards playing something like this. Instead of rocking the Articuno and feeling a little bit all in on Misty, this deck, I would say Misty's a pure bonus. Yes, it's strong when you can do it. However, if you miss on Misty, haha, we get it, we've heard the jokes, you've not just lost, you're not massively behind, you're just not a little bit ahead. So a list like this I do quite like. Whether Farfetch'd is correct or not, we'll see. But I do think it's an okay choice if you just want that little bit of extra aggression and that little bit of extra chance to not start a Froakie in the opening spot. And next up, we did see, of course, 8-2 score from Fat Dunk with Mewtwo Greninja. Again, everyone seems to be really enjoying Greninja now. And again, it's something that we have seen before where it's the Greninjas, the Kangaskhan, and then one Mewtwo is sort of like the finisher or the carry, so to speak. The only issue with this list, as you can probably see, is, yeah, you basically need the energy to get something done and you don't have Gardevoir, so it can be a little bit tricky to play. Personally, I don't really see what... Oh, okay, well, I do. I was going to say I don't really see what Mewtwo has that Blastoise doesn't. Well, I do. It's a basic, right? That's the difference. However, I think if you were playing a shell like this, I would still, if you wanted something like big and to sweep at the end of a game, I think I'd still rather play Blastoise, honestly. And I think Blastoise is underplayed right now. It really does have the ability to go pretty strong against a lot of different decks. Next up, we are going to see Sebit on this Marowak EX Primeape, and I'm a big fan of Primeape. I imagine, yeah, pretty clean list, just 2 of each, get the job done. Of course, it's going to be the promo Mankey to be able to push out with that Primeape as quick as possible, and I think you just steal a lot of wins with this deck. If you get that good opening, you just run people over, and it doesn't really matter what they're playing. So a list I actually really enjoy. However, I actually have been playing Primeape Pidgeot recently, and that's been a lot of fun instead of a Marowak. So something a little bit different, not necessarily stronger, but just different. And as we scroll down as well, we can, of course, check out some pictures or some little notes I found very entertaining. Wigglytuff Doug Trio. with one Jiggly of each type. I don't know if that's because they don't have the other promo Jigglypuff maybe yet. Maybe they got a little bit unlucky in the event. But regardless, Dugtrio, very tanky, very annoying for your opponent to deal with. And of course, with only one energy, it gives you the time to get to that Wigglytuff. And Wigglytuff can carry. So honestly, this is a deck I'm probably going to try out pretty soon because it's proven it can get the job done. You have that little push against some electric openings that aren't Zapdos with Dugtrio, because Dugtrio kind of deletes Pikachu as well, which is hilarious. And also you have the sort of back of just saying, well, Wigglytuff has a lot of health, not the most damage, but constantly putting stuff to sleep can be very, very strong. So definitely a deck I do want to check out. And as I said, that deck itself did quite well. Again, all of these, I will post a list to this, but all of these went 7-2. And even the 6-3s, very, very, very good results when you look at how big the field was. I mean, look, like how big the field was. I can keep scrolling, and then there's more players. So I just keep going all the way down. So anything, honestly, if you go even or higher, I would say you've had a really good run, if I'm being completely honest. Scrolling back up here, there was one more deck I did want to look at with me mentioning the Blastoise, of course, which is a Blastoise Frostmoth with a Mewtwo tank. And again, I play Sea King Blastoise, which might not be everyone's cup of tea, and I understand why, but I like it. However, this is again a good idea. I think Frostmoth and Mewtwo can really make sure you get that Blastoise like ready to go. And once Blastoise is good, as long as you've set it up well, as in you've not overfilled your bench, Blastoise is really difficult to take out, especially in a world where if you can make your opponent either play the Charizard first in that matchup and then you can Blastoise it back, you can do really well. However, it's a little bit susceptible to if you are forced to bring out the Blastoise to actually start knocking out Pokemon. And I think this is one of the reasons why I prefer slightly more aggressive Blastoise lists, because there are some matchups where if your opponent is given maximum time and you're given maximum time, you can get into trouble because, let's be honest, Frostmoth can be annoying, but it's basically tickling your opponent and you never attacking with Mewtwo. So you are very all in on this Blastoise, similar to other lists I've seen that have like the Snorlax lists or the double Mewtwo lists. And I think it's just a little bit all in for me, whereas I do like having other options to be a little bit more aggressive. But however, cool list, and it did very, very well. So yeah, overall, I was just really excited to see how it went over the weekend. I was actually away this weekend, one of the few times I leave my house, and so I didn't really get to play much or watch any of this tournament. So by all means, if you watched it, let me know what you thought. You can check it out over on obviously Ursuday's Twitch stream, as well as plenty of other people actually streaming their matches as they do compete. But yeah, thought it was really cool to check out the tournament, see how everything's doing ahead of what could be a meta-changing moment in about 2-ish weeks, potentially. We're going to be getting a mini set, so that should be really, really fun to see how that impacts the game. But yeah, just a quick one today. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you thought of the tournament and what you thought of the deck lists, especially if you did compete yourself. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys next time.